Yo guys, what is going on? Blossom's back and welcome back to another episode of Top Drives. Now, at its core, the game is a collection game where obviously you have over like how many cars do you even have in Top Drives nowadays? All cars, 4,418 cars, and basically the main premise is to try and collect everything in the game. But if you are a newer or more intermediate player, this might seem incredibly overwhelming. In fact, when I started playing Top Drives 5 years ago, trying to collect every single car in the game was already a very overwhelming task. And honestly, it depends on, I guess, your personality, but for me, if there's just way too much on the table going on at one point, I'm just gonna procrastinate and do something else. So what made it a little bit easier for me was to collect things in, niches. So basically specialization. I've talked about it so many times on the channel before, but I feel like the best way to kind of treat Top Drives is to treat it like a marathon and not a sprint. You can specialize in small little niches and fill up different collections before you think about the bigger picture. I hope that makes sense. For my example, I went down with brands. I was like, yes, Dodge. Like Dodge is going to be my thing. I want Dodge. I want to collect every single Dodge in the game. I want every single one fully upgraded. And there are pros and cons to this playstyle, but I'm going to endorse this playstyle until my grave. At the start of Top Drives, yes, I was basically suffering in any event that wasn't Dodge based, but at least when the Dodge events came along, I did really well. Think about it this way, right? Compare like a Challenger SRT Superstock to maybe something like a Dodge M4S. The M4S is more of a jack of all trades, and there aren't many events where you will use it, but a Superstock, for example, knows what it wants to excel in, and which is, the quarter mile and the half mile, and you're going to use it in quarter mile and half mile situations. It's just going to be a fantastic car for you to use. So going for a specific brand, niche, anything like that feels like a specialist car. It might not be useful in all occasions, but when it is useful, then whatever you decided to collect is going to be really fruitful for you, basically. And for me, moving on from Dodge, I focus on American cars and I focus on saloons, etc., etc., etc. So I want to talk about what are some of the easier niches that you can collect today. And maybe if you are a beginner player, this might help you out in terms of, if you just want to have the feeling of the sensation of collecting something. A lot of these niches that are really easy to collect aren't very useful, let me tell you right now. But if you just want to feel like you have completed a chapter for a collection in this game, then these are some niches that you can look at. And also if you're an advanced player, because these niches aren't super useful, maybe you might not even have every single car in those niches. So it'll be pretty fun to see if you actually got that done. So let us begin. We're going to begin with Convertible. I'm going to make sure that I'm selecting all cars. And for Convertible, they've got 92 performance tire cars, 59 cent tire cars. I will show a chart at the end of the video highlighting which are the easier ones to talk about. But we're going to car attributes. The first one I want to talk about is front-wheel drive. Front-wheel drive convertibles. If you are a brand new player, I think that this would be a pretty easy niche for you to collect. Most of the cars aren't, ultra rare, epic, or legend. There aren't even any epics or legends, and there's only one ultra rare for you to collect, which is the Mitsubishi Eclipse. Some super rares in here for you to get. Not a lot of them are the most useful thing in the world. I would say out of this, the most cars that I use the most would probably be the Dardo. And maybe going on right now, I think, the John Cooper works because of the 50 level challenge, and I tend to use this quite a bit for all the performance tire stuff. I think all in all, the performance tire cars will get you a little bit more use. This is a really good one to get, actually, the Chrysler 200 convertible. So that's one of the niches, but we've got a lot to talk about today. So front wheel drive is the first one that I want to highlight. The other one, staying in convertibles, is rear wheel drive convertibles. This one's a little bit harder, so I feel like if you're an intermediate player, this might be a better one for you than a beginner player. Only 5 ultra rares, 5 epics for you to collect, most of which are, useless. Like I said, a lot of these niches, they're just serving the purpose of making you feel like you've accomplished something in the game. They aren't really useful cars. The CLK DTM was a Hellcat beater of the past. It was fantastic. It still is pretty okay, but all the other epics are kind of lackluster. In terms of ultra rares, again, the Jaguar XKRS might be pretty useful if you are a newer player. Same thing goes for the BMW M6 convertible, but everything else is kind of just average or under average. The 62 Long Delay is actually a very useful car if you are a beginner as well, one for you to look out for. Another thing that I also wanted to focus on was, although when I started Top Drives, I focus on just brands, this video is going to be centered around more of the miscellaneous stuff, like the body styles and all that kind of stuff, because it's a lot more common to find body style carbon fibers in Top Drives than brand carbon fibers in Top Drives now. I think right now when I'm recording the video, you can actually just buy a Saloon carbon fiber, but when was the last time you saw something like just a Mercedes carbon fiber or just a Porsche carbon fiber? Most of the packs on offer now are always centered around a type of body style, or maybe a type of update, or maybe even a country. But it's really rare for me to see, you know, a Porsche pack or a Dodge pack. They might come out maybe once every 4 or 5 months. But back in the day, I used to get Dodge packs on sale in clubs, not in clubs, but in Top Drives, like once every 3 weeks or something like that. So it's going to be a little bit harder to just focus on those brands. Now, moving on to Coupes, there's nothing. Coupes is a very, very big niche. I feel like this is something that you might want to specialize in when you are more of an advanced player. Another way to think about it is maybe coupe, and instead of coupe, and instead of like car attributes, maybe do it by country. That might make it a little bit easier. Like if you want to go for like Australian coupes, ooh, I don't know about that actually. Ultra and below will be okay, but those legendaries are gonna be pretty hard to get. Or maybe even like, what are some smaller ones? Swedish? No, actually no. Swedish is just all getting sex in it. Anyway, we're gonna move away from coupes. We want to talk about estate. So estate is the next thing that we want to talk about, and estate rear-wheel drive is the one that I want to highlight. So if we go to estate and we go to car attributes, we go to rear-wheel drive. As you can see over here, it's not too bad as well. This is pretty easy to collect, I would say. Most of these are lower-end cars, and the only higher-end cars includes 4 epics, all of which are completely useless. So honestly, you can just like ignore all of them and maybe just focus on your collection ultra and below. As you can see, I've got most of the cars from the niche. Not a lot of them are going to be useful. I guess some highlights from this is going to be the Mercedes C63, the Jaguar XFR and Sport Brake, because there's medium ground clearance and has performance tires. Some other highlights might include the BMW 320, the Touring with 86 handling after the handling buff, and the E220. It's a highlight to me, not a highlight to players. It's a highlight to me because it's a W212, and that's about it. Okay, moving on to the next niche I want to talk about is hatchbacks. Hatchbacks, oh, this is an interesting one because this isn't really a beginner collection niche, if I would say, but it's a hatchback slick. The only reason why I highlighted this is because if they ever released a hatchback slick carbon fiber, this would be a pack that you want to open. I mean, I can see it happening, you know. The only supers you can get are really amazing. The only ultras you can get are, for the most part, really good. I would say that, you know, the alphas are the weakest ones here, and both of them get 101 and 99 handling respectively, so they aren't terrible. Yeah, if there was a slick tire front-wheel drive pack, that would be one worth opening for sure, because all of the epics would probably pay out. A lot of the ultras would pay out. It was just a really good pack, you know? And obviously with all the crappy packs that we've had in Top Drives recently, this would be one that I think a lot of players would welcome. But anyway, we're going to move on to the next niche that I feel like is pretty easy to collect. We're going to go to MPV. MPV standard tires. This is a pretty big one, 79 cars, but all of which are just low end. 33 commons, 25 uncommons, only 5 supers and 2 ultras to collect. So if you want a side quest, then this would be a pretty decent one for you to focus on. A lot of these cars are going to be useless, but like I said, if you want a side quest where it feels like you have completed some form of collection aspect in Top Drives, then this is something that you could look forward to. MPV is chock full of just these side quests, I would say. Front wheel drive is another one that's really easy to collect. Alongside this would be rear wheel drive and 4-wheel drive, which are also all pretty easy to collect. You're going to be seeing a lot of the same cars for MPV. Rear wheel drive, again, like as you can see, they're literally only like 10 cars, right? They're only 10 cars. So 9 because one's a prize car, right? So if you were a newer player, this could be something that you might want to look at. You know, it's not going to be very fruitful, but if it cures the urge of you wanting to collect things, and that's a good one to get. All right, now moving on to pickup trucks. Pickup trucks also has a lot of just easy side quests for you to complete. The first one is going to go to performance tire pickups, and honestly, this one is pretty useful. Cars like the Maloo and the Sidewinder are actually really useful. I use them for the dailies every time. These are really good utes or pickups, however way you want to call it. The Ultras, you know, it's a pretty alright selection of performance tire cars. Super rares, there's some highlights as well, like the Ram SRT10 and the El Camino 454. And then when it comes to rares, the GMC Denali XT is a pretty decent car to collect. Moving on, another one that's pretty nice is Standard. Nice as in like pretty easy to collect. As you can see, not a lot of cars over here, mostly low end, the only high end stuff going to the Baja, as well as the GMC Cyclone. Two more for pickups. The next one goes to all surface tires. 58 cars, again, not the hardest thing in the world to collect. Just a couple of epics, both of which are American, so maybe if you're an American collector, this might be something that you might want to look at. I mean, anything pickup is going to be pretty decent if you are an American collector. A lot of these GMCs and the newer updates fill up that as well. A lot of Silverados, right? And the last one we'll be highlighting today will be the 48 cars. What is it? Rear wheel drive. There it is. Rear wheel drive pickups. Now this one, I do enjoy this. I feel like if you are a beginner player, this would be a pretty decent niche to invest in, because even until today, when I'm recording as an advanced player, this is a niche that, again, I tend to use pretty often. Mainly the Maloo and the Sidewinder, they do get decent use. If I go into my cars, I'll just show you my Maloo. Yeah, 938 races in 466 days. Sidewinder, on the other hand, is 766 races in 1,108 days. So both those cars, were they the same number? 770? No, it's not. Okay, is it? No, it's not. The Maloo actually got more races, but yeah, those two get a decent amount of usage, so that could be something that, you know, you as a newer player might be able to consider. Now, moving on away from pickups, we're going to go to Roadster. Roadster, what I want to highlight, only one thing to highlight: standard tire Roadsters. So standard tire, 54 cars. Again, it's just mostly low end, and then two epics. And these two epics are fantastic. I mean, the Caterhams, they are Blossom choice, basically, right? So this is a decent niche for you to look into as well. Now, moving on to Saloons. This is going to be a pretty similar one. Now, Saloons is a niche that I like to collect. It is my favorite body style of car, if you will. And Saloon Slicks is a pretty interesting one. If they ever release packs for this, it could be one that you might consider opening as well. There's really not a lot to choose from. There are no Ultras. Okay, no, I don't think they'll ever release packs for this. But one thing that's pretty interesting about Saloon's Slicks is I think almost every car here is a prize car. Almost every single one is a prize car. Here's another one. Saloon Off-Road, 14 cars. If they release packs for this, now this one, I think oh no, they can't. They've got Ultra Rares, Epics, and Legends, but they don't have any Super Rares for you to unpack, because both of these are classified as prize cars. Oh, that's unfortunate, but that's a nice little niche as well. Not one to collect, just something to take note of if they ever release packs for it. But now that I realize that there are no Super Rares for you to unpack, I don't think they will release a pack like that, which is a little sad. Okay, now moving on, SUVs. Do they have anything? Yes, they do. SUV performance tires. Now this is a pretty decent investment for any kind of level of player to collect, mainly because most of the SUV events that I see in top drives, they're always just dry. So, you know, I do get a decent amount of use. There is a niche for the Forester STI, the Forester TS, as well as the Hyundai Kona N. And then also there has been times where I've used my Forester XT. I have mine almost fully upgraded, for crying out loud. But it's been a while actually since I've seen SUV. Oh, clubs. You tend to use this for clubs a lot. Another one, staying with that SUV line, is SUV rear wheel drive. Just in case like you need to use SUVs at an event and you don't have those performance tire cars, then the rear wheel drive ones are better than the four wheel drive ones for dry, just because the four wheel drive obviously has that RQ inflation, right? So yeah, rear wheel drive SUVs could be something that you can consider as well. It's a pretty easy niche to collect. There are not a lot of cars. Not a lot of them are useful though. I do get some decent use from the QX50 as well as the EX30. This is a fantastic standard tire car for hairpin wet for ultra rares and below. But aside from those two cars, I mean, I guess the Enyaqs are pretty nice, and that's about it. Last but not least, I want to talk about front wheel drive SUV. Again, pretty easy niche to collect, just a lot of low end stuff, including the ever so disgusting Atlas if you dare to do so. Kona is decent. RDX, I get a decent amount of use as well in clubs. Right, moving down, we've got Van. Van has, I mean, the entire van niche, you can kind of just go for it if you want to. Obviously, there's three prize cars that kind of lock you out from the high end, but everything from the Transit, which is also a prize car, and below. Actually, if you take away the prize cars, it starts with the Ford E Transit and below. It's a very, very simple niche for you to unlock. Again, you're not going to get a lot of use out of it though. Now I want to move on to diesel. Diesel, the first one I want to talk about, diesel performance tires. Again, more of an intermediate niche. They're more epics for you to go out and collect, but pretty useful. A lot of these cars are also considered to be the new tag, I think, right? Desperados. Yeah, so this is Desperados. It might just be one. It might just be, actually, it might just be with the one car. Okay, never mind. Is this Desperados? Okay, never mind. It might just be the one car. I digress, though. There are some decent ones in here as well, like the Peugeot 908 RC. There is the Triton, but that's a prize car, right? So you can't really go and get that. BMW 640D is okay. Again, it's not the best one. Literally 2 or 3 decent cars out of a bunch of crap. But honestly, that's just most of top drives nowadays. It's just 2 or 3 good cars around a bunch of crap. Also, there's front wheel drive, 98 cars for you to collect, really easy, all low end. Again, the highlights would include things like the Audi TT 2.0, the Ford Focus ST, and maybe some highlights in the Super Air range. I don't see any more actually. The Megane is okay. Yeah, no, honestly, in terms of if you want something useful, don't go for diesel. Last but not least is hybrid, right, that I want to talk about. So hybrid, there is front wheel drive hybrid, so car attributes hybrid, yeah, so we can stay front wheel drive. I think front wheel drive just has a lot of niches for you to focus on. ELR is pretty good, not as good as it used to be, and a lot of these are newer cars. The Volite, I mean, I think it's okay, but I've never really used it much since American Frontier. It's all in all just an easy niche to collect. Actually, there are 2 more that I want to talk about, and they fall under electric. So the first one is also front wheel drive, also 34 cars. Highlights, I guess, Peugeot E208. Mazda MX-30, Electric Shadow Edition is okay. The Bolt EV is like a decent super rare, like slightly above average for an RQ42. And then the last one I want to highlight, including with 56 cars, we remove that and it's going to be standard. So again, it's a pretty, honestly, from what we've seen so far, this one isn't too bad, right? There's some good cars here. The Enyaqs, the Ultras, they're great. The Interspace got a lot of use at the start of American Overdrive, but I don't think we're going to be using that much anymore. The Volvo EX30 is back. That's pretty cool. The Hyundai Ioniq 677, the Jaguar I-Pace, both of which are fantastic standard tire cars, both with 4-wheel drive as well. The Ioniq 577 is decent too. Right? The Legends, I mean, there's only one that you can collect, the Lyric. The other 2 are prize cars. So this could be another niche that you might want to focus on, especially, I think this is a pretty decent investment. I think electric is a pretty decent investment. I kind of cringed a bit when I said that. But the thing is, with future updates, more electric cars are going to be added to the game. So this niche is just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So starting it now, starting it early, might be a pretty decent place to put it, honestly. If we go back into all cars, let's look at any OG cars that are here. All of these are just brand new, right? So this is APGP, Enter the Black Forest. The E208 European Revolution, I would say, is one of the older cars. I think one of the oldest ones would be, you know, the Smart 42 EV. Everything else that you see at the top are from recent updates of the last about 2 years or so. I-Pace, I guess, is pretty old, great exhibition, but everything else is new. So anyway, guys, that is going to be it for today. I'm going to put a photo on the screen of basically everything that we talked about. Those are some pretty easy, if you will, top drives side quests. Not a lot of legendaries for you to collect. You don't need to open a bunch of packs. But anyway, guys, that's gonna be it for today. I hope you guys have a great day, and stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace. Are live. Yo, guys, what is going on? Blossom is back
with another episode of Top Drives.
My brain just stopped working.
Yeah,
like,
that's how you feel.
Thank you.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies. They so fine. Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly. Got a jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies. They so fine. sit back, relax,